So next, I'd like to invite the legislators, Professor Luo Zhizheng, to give us his thoughts and how Taiwan's viewing the current situation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lai. I want to start by thanking the organizer, Prospect Foundation, for inviting me here today. Let me start by quoting what General MacArthur said 70 years ago. It was a paragraph from a memo on Formosa, meaning Taiwan now, written by General MacArthur in 1950 on the eve of the Korean War. It says, quote, as a result of its geographic location and base potential, utilization of Formosa by a military power hostile to the United States may either counterbalance or overshadow the strategic importance of the central and southern flank of the United States frontline position. Formosa, in the hands of communists, can be compelled to an unsinkable aircraft carrier and submarine tender. And I strongly believe that this insightful evaluation of Taiwan's geostrategic importance still holds true today. And I even think it is more true than ever. So any discussion of the Indo-Pacific strategy will not succeed without putting Taiwan's role in it. General MacArthur's concerns about the situation are now more real and urgent because today's China is very different from what it was 70 years ago. Simply put, China 70 years ago was not so strong, expansionistic, ambitious, and aggressive. But today, we are witnessing the rise of a more powerful, assertive, bullying, and aggressive China. So our underlying challenge is how to cope with or to get along with this rising China. The very key question is, what should be our grand Indo-Pacific strategy? Engagement, containment, rebalancing, hedging, or any innovative new strategy. I'm not going to comment on whether the aforementioned policies are successful or failed, feasible or unrealistic, because there's been a lot of discussions on that. I do want to emphasize, though, that we cannot come up with a sound and robust strategy without understanding the sources of China's or CCP's behavior. In this regard, I found the latest report of U.S. State Department to be very insightful and informative. In this, the elements of the China Challenge Report, published by the Policy Planning Staff of the Office of Secretary of State, it clearly points out two major sources of the CCP's or China's domestic and external behavior. These two sources are communism and nationalism. And I totally agree with this assessment. If this is the right understanding of the nature of China's behavior, we can accordingly understand correctly the nature of our relationship with China. In short, conflicts between China and the democratic world are not just a struggle for power, but also, more importantly, ideological conflicts. So China challenges not only our national interests, but also our way of life. The so-called China Dream, or the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, if we study them thoroughly and carefully, we can easily come to the conclusion that these two terms indicate China's pursuit of the status and power to define the regional order or even world order. In other words, unless we think that the world order we have cherished and endorsed in the past few decades must be changed. The rise of China is going to challenge the universal values we are proud of, including democracy, rule of law, human rights, freedom, free market, and so on and so forth. In addition, because China's ambitions and expansion are comprehensive, countermeasures against China must also be all-round, including politics, economic, military, and even science and technology. And again, I must stress the strategic importance of Taiwan in this changing environment. People have been talking about the increasing change or incremental change of economic, political, and military balance of power in the region. But I always believe that the only way that a regional balance of power can be changed overnight is to have Taiwan fall into the hands of China. Taiwan stands at the forefront of the geostrategic, geopolitical, and geoeconomic competition between China and the rest of the world. Obviously, for policymakers in Washington, Tokyo, or even New Delhi, Taiwan should be seen as a strategic asset, not a strategic burden or even liability. Make good use of Taiwan's strategic role so we can reverse the gradual loss of balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. Let me remind you again to recall what General MacArthur said 70 years ago. His analysis is very provocative, but more importantly, very enlightening. So if talking about my understanding of the nature of CCP's behavior, let me briefly talk about my understanding of China's strategy. The CCP strategy looks very complicated, but in fact, it is very simple. Simply put, CCP's strategy is to divide and defeat. China always used this kind of a united front strategy, to divide and defeat, divide and conquer. CCP always used the enemy's internal contradictions and division to woo secondary enemies against primary enemies. So therefore for us, any discussion of our strategies towards China cannot succeed without any concerted efforts and coordinated strategies. And that's the reason why I find this kind of forum is very important, because that's the only way we can come to a united strategy or even united front against rising China. Let me stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.